Hello everybody, this is my second turn at this video, so hopefully the technology holds up. Hello to everybody that is joining me live. Hope that everyone can come back. So this video is about the stage one of the healing process. I call it the birthing process. Exactly for the reasons that you would think. It is this birthing of material, birthing of sometimes new material, sometimes not new material, but birthing of mental and emotional pain that comes under your awareness, sometimes for the very first time, and sometimes maybe it's the constant showing up of difficult material, difficult mental and emotional material. So that's what I call birthing. That's what birthing means inside the clearing process. Birthing is the first stage. It's the stage that we all will arrive at some point in our lives. Some of us have been lucky enough not to have had these, what I would call violent birthing processes happening, and some of us have. When I use the word violent, I use the word violent to describe how fast and sharp and out of nowhere sometimes this process can be. If that is making any sense to anybody, will you let me know in the chat if just even a thumbs up or a heart if that makes sense? Because I think if we understand and if we collectively have language for the birthing process, it is really, really, really important. So the birthing process is the first stage. It's when material is coming up, when material's coming into your awareness, when material's coming through your body and emotion, sometimes in somatics, when it's coming through your mind and thoughts that you can't seem to place, you don't understand its origins, you don't understand its place, you don't understand why it's there. And it's this kind of, what some people call the roller coaster of difficulty. And that is often what we describe in the clearing process, and anybody's clearing trained, that's a good day. It doesn't feel like a good day. It feels like a very, very, very bad day. And if you've been in the birthing process for a long, long time, it can be exhausting. And it depends what you're birthing as well. It depends what is coming up. And so that's what we call birthing. And it is really important that we give it that name. Because for me, the name birthing implies that there is something here to be cherished, something to be seen, something to be worked with, something to be delivered, something that needs our attention. And that for me, I think, is the first thing that we can do for ourselves when any of this material is birthing. You see, I think that what happens when material births, when mental and emotional pain births, is that we get into a lot of attachments, what labeling, shaming it, calling it, madness, calling it breakdowns. Well, and it's cliched to say, it's not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. But the truth of it is there is material coming up. It's forcing itself into your awareness through thought. It's forcing itself into your awareness through the physicality of it in your body, through the emotion of it in your body. And it's not forcing itself for nothing. And I know when my material began to birth, just after the birth of my son, it felt like it just felt like I had entered into a world that I didn't understand, that I had no reference for, and this stuff just kept coming and coming and coming. And if that is making any sense to any of you, let me know in the comments. The more that we are able to communicate this as an experience and a collective experience, then the more that we're unlikely to label it, the more that we're unlikely to shame it in ourselves or shame it in our families when it happens, when our loved ones present with difficulty. So the first thing I think that we must do is that we must have a name for it. We must have a place for it, because if we shame it, if we call it a breakdown, if we label it, if we medicalize it in any way, call it depression, call it anxiety, call it what you want, give it any sort of label, any sort of attachment to it, then it kind of traps us in it. And the first thing I would ask you to do is delabel it as that, something that needs your attention. Because when we label it as something needing your attention, something trying to give you a message, something trying to speak to you, something trying to show you something, then that takes an awful lot of pain out of that process. Because if you can imagine, this pain is coming up, this difficulty is coming up, these thoughts are coming through your body, through your mind. And if we start shouting at them, if we start roaring, oh, I'm mad, I'm crazy, I'm having a breakdown, I'm never going to be the same, you could just imagine the amount of pain that you put on top of the pain. So the first process, I think, or part of the process, is acceptance. Acceptance that there's something that needs your attention, something that's coming up through you, something that's difficult for you, something that has signals or messages, or something that needs cleared. That's why we call it the clearing process. Something that needs cleared from your awareness, out of your body and out of your mind, so that you don't have to feel that way anymore. But what happens is we don't see it like that, and we're not around enough people who will confirm that. You know, one of the first things that I'll do in practice is I'll sit down with somebody and say, yeah, okay, what is birthing? Let's have a look at it and pay attention to it and listen to it and honour it and hear it, because it's the first part of the process. There is immense relief when you do that, because this material that's coming up is trying its best to be heard for the first time, maybe in a long, long time. Because this material has been buried so deeply in us, so deeply in the back of our minds, you know, in our subconscious, underneath our hearts, so we don't have to feel it anymore. And one day or someday, this material comes to bear. And when we treat it with grace, and we treat it with understanding, and we treat it with compassion, and when we treat it with understanding, and we treat it with a inquisitive nature and an inquisitive heart, it takes a new turn. There's something magical in that. There is relief immediately. There is an unlayering that happens, and then we can begin the process of seeing it, seeing what it is, taking care of it, understanding ourselves in it, and seeking to actually remove it. But you see, when we label it, see when we call ourselves crazy, see when we call each other crazy for it, you see when we hurt each other, do you see when we shame ourselves for it, we get trapped in it. And then the second stage of healing happens, which is the management stage. Now, as I've already indicated, there's about 13 stages. And, you know, what I'm hoping this video will do for you is help you see if you are in stage one. Stage one is birthing. So what happens is that we get into stage one, and if we label it, if we hurt ourselves for it, we get trapped there. There's nobody wants to get trapped in the birthing stage, because the next stage is management. And we can often bounce between managing it and birthing it, managing it and birthing it and managing it. And sometimes if we do that, we can keep it kind of dormant for another few months, and then it'll come again. How many of you have had that experience where you're just trapped in that birthing process? Because part of the reason you're trapped in the birthing process is because the messages that you're hearing, the labeling that you're giving it, is only to be quashed, only to be squashed, only to be managed, only to be shoved back down again. And if I'm brutally honest, what I see in our society is most of us are caught between stage one and stage two, bouncing around between birthing and management, birthing and management, birthing and bypassing management, whatever word you want to use to describe that. And the one thing that makes a difference, the one simplest thing that can make a difference, is our attitude towards what is coming, our attitude towards what is birthing. And I just want to speak to one more wee part of that, and then we'll leave that for now. There's much more to be said about birthing, and I'm going to try and give it in short, sharp snippets over the next few weeks. But there's one thing about birthing for me is that if we see this material, this mental and emotional pain, as pieces of ourself that we believed about ourselves, we thought about ourselves, we thought about the world around us, difficult things, shadow work, some people call it, limiting beliefs, but they're much deeper. Stuff that births much deeper than just basic limiting beliefs. This is what I would call core wounds. These wounds have been, lay dormant in the body, lay dormant in the mind for a long time. And whilst they've been dormant, it's been fine because you haven't been in pain. But now that they're out in the open, now that they're grabbing your attention, now that they're shouting, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to have a look at that core pain. Because the truth of it is, we're not really being true to ourselves when we're working with dormant pain. We're not really being who we really should be in this world when we're working with this dormant pain that gets to poke its head up, once in a while, every few months, every 2 weeks. And, for some of us, we don't even get that break. It's just constant. It's relentless. It feels like it's there every day. So it is an opportunity. I know it doesn't feel like an opportunity, and I don't know if someone had said to me at the time it was an opportunity, would I have likely punched them? Probably, because it didn't as hell feel as an opportunity. But I would have loved someone to say, look, there is a message in this, and not a message like some ethereal kind of, message outside yourself. That's not the kind of message I'm talking about. It's a message that comes from this part of you, this wounded self that's so begging to be healed. And in that, there is an opportunity. Because if I leave you with anything, I'll leave you with this. Once I did see it as an opportunity, once I got my head around what was happening, once I started to see that there was a pattern to these thoughts, there was a pattern to this emotion, there was a particular message, and we'll talk about that over the next few days. Then I could start to say, okay, what part of me needs healed? Where did this wound come from? What was this wound about? Why have I got this stuff inside me? And from there, transformation happened. From there, I was able to walk through the rest of the stages and heal eventually and get to the stage where you're free of it. But if you don't treat the birthing stage as an opportunity, you get trapped in it. You get trapped in the labeling, trapped in the shaming, trapped in the annihilation of yourself for it. And that's not where we need to be. It's not where we need our friends to be. It's not where we need our loved ones to be. And it's certainly not where we do not deserve to be in that place, because we've carried this stuff for far too long. It's a very simple message, but it's a message of hope and compassion and transformation, to see the birthing process as an opportunity. Hopefully you can hold that in your heads and in your hearts. And if you're watching this video on the replay and you're going through birthing, hopefully this frames it in a way that makes this birthing process more bearable. Love to you all. Hope that was helpful. Any questions, put them below. I would love to have a conversation with you about it over the course of this week. And we're going to continue with more of this. There is so many different parts of the birthing process that I would really love to talk to you about and help you through. And if you have any questions whatsoever, we've already got some questions about why do we continually birth? Questions like, why do we birth lots of things? And that's a massive question, so I'm going to answer that this week. So if you've got any other questions about this process, and if you think that you're stuck in it, let me know as well. This will be a great wee series as we move across the weeks ahead. Love to you all. Have a great evening, and I'll see you all soon. Bye. Bye-bye. Thank you, Natalie. Thanks, Caroline. Bye-bye.